Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. I invite everyone to join Council in O Canada. Please rise. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. I will now give our opening prayer, followed by a moment of silent reflection, and then we'll begin the meeting proper. God, grant us understanding and patience, that justice, truth, and honesty may be evident in our decisions. Make us mindful of the needs of the people throughout the town of Oakville. Help us govern with the wider community in mind, and so create in us a desire for progress and responsible action. We ask this in your name. Amen. Thank you, everyone. Madam Clerk, do we have any regrets for this meeting?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have regrets from Councillors Duddick and Robinson.
Thank you. And Council, are there declarations of pecuniary interest? Thank you. You have before you the minutes of the previous council meetings. How do you wish to proceed? Councillor Elgar moves adoption of all the minutes. Second, Councillor Johnston. All in favor? Opposed, if any. The minutes are adopted. We have no public presentations, but we do have a registered delegation from Ms. Lynn Roblin, the past chair of the Halton Food Council, and that's with regard to item 2 on this evening's agenda. Ms. Roblin, welcome. Council looks forward to your information, and you're up.
Is this on? Okay. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you on behalf of the Halton Food Council. I'm here representing the council, which has been in existence in Halton now for about 3 years. I wanted just to bring your attention to who those members of the council are, so that you could see that it is quite a broad-based group of individuals representing organizations in the food and farming area here in Halton County. Some of the groups that are represented on the Halton Food Council are Community Development Halton, several community members, including myself, representing the dietitians in the community, and Moira Mitsubishi Shaw, who's actually here with me today. We have Gordon Food Services represented, the Halton Agricultural Advisory Committee, Halton Food for Thought, which is a program that we administer food and nutrition programs to over 90 schools in Halton, and that's often considered a breakfast or a snack program. We have Halton Fresh Food Box program on the council as well, and I'm actually a retired board member from that organization. And that group distributes over 800 fresh fruit and vegetable boxes throughout Halton each month to priority populations, including seniors, low-income families, and other individuals. The other groups represented are the Halton Region Federation of Agriculture. We have some of the farmers representing, sitting on that group. And then we have two advisors from Halton Region. Halton Region Health Department is represented by a public health nutritionist, Lynn Garrison. And we also have the Halton Region Planning Services Division represented by Gina Ali. And those regional advisors are just that. They're advisors. They're not voting members of the council. So if any issues come up that they would have to back out of, they are non-voting members, but they're there to help us provide information to the council. We also have the Oakville Sustainable Food Partnership represented on the council, as well as the Ontario Agri-Food Education Association, which is actually located in Milton. And the last group that's represented on our council is Refresh Foods and Foods for Life. So we have quite a broad-based membership of food security programs and farm groups in Halton. The reason for bringing the food charter to you today is we have been working together for the past 3 years, as I mentioned, on various council activities, but one of the very first things that we did was establish a food charter. And there are about 13 or more different food policy councils in Ontario, and it is one of the leading activities that we are trying to work on, not together, but as individual councils, to try and see how we could work together in our communities. And so each community has developed its own food charter, and that is, I believe, been distributed to the members of council already, so that you can see that there. I'll just read what our vision is that our vision of the food charter is that all residents have access to adequate, affordable, safe, nutritious, and culturally acceptable foods. And this is a line that you've probably seen as well through the World Health Organization and the Federation of Agriculture. It is not a new statement. It is really looking after the food security of all residents in Halton. And the other thing that's really important to Halton residents is that there's a fair and sustainable food system here in Halton, where local foods are available and promoted, and local agricultural lands and farmers are protected and supported, and that urban agriculture is encouraged, and food has been produced and distributed in an environmentally unacceptable way. And the final thing that we're looking at is food is an important part of our heritage and our culture. So anywhere you look in Halton, we've had a history of agriculture. We used to have a lot of dairy farms. We have lots of cash crops. I myself grew up in Burlington, and my backyard was an apple orchard and an apple cannery. That unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. I think there was a lot of pear production where the Burlington Mall exists. So some of our concerns are regarding sort of that history of Halton as being an agricultural land. We still have lots of berry farms and other types of farms here in Halton, and it's really important to see those kinds of farming practices continue. So one of the goals of this charter is to increase awareness of the food system issues and opportunities in Halton Region, and to communicate with a common voice to promote action. And so that's why I'm here today, really to emphasize that the Halton Food Charter is here for all of us, and it is trying to promote the vision of the charter that you're looking at presently. So some of the outcomes of having a charter is awareness of the community food needs, and actually some of these are activities that the Halton Food Council has undertaken. We did complete a community food assessment in May of 2011, and we also did a program review of all the food programs we have in Halton, from food banks to programs, educational programs, to the snacking food programs in the schools, and other community programs, farmers markets, and different kinds of things like that. One of the other things that we're looking at is promoting local foods in Halton, and certainly I've given you an example of how the Halton Fresh Food Box program provides fresh fruit and vegetables to residents throughout Halton. We have 32 drop sites, and we try to use mostly local foods in those food boxes. Right now in the winter it's about 50% local produce, but in the summer it's 100% local. And we have 9 growers within 50 kilometers of Halton. So they're not all just Halton, but local in terms of Ontario and as close to here as possible. So awareness of food grown and produced in Halton is one of our key outcomes, and a strong and sustainable agricultural economy is also important. We know that in Halton we've been losing farms. We've actually increased in farm size, but we've decreased in farm numbers. We are actually 5th in terms of farm receipts. So in terms of our economic development, we're still very much a farming community in terms of the returns on our farming. And so we are trying to support our current agricultural system, but the other thing we're trying to do is support urban agriculture as a way to promote food security. Some of those examples would be community gardens, and I'm sure you've heard lots about community gardens sprouting up in Halton. Some of them are at churches, some of them are in parks, and some of them are community gardens that the town actually rents out ourselves. For example, we have community gardens at Shell Park, we have one in Kingsford Park, and we have some at Lyons Lanes. And these are just ways to help individuals increase their intake of fresh fruits and vegetables that they have grown on their own. So those are some of the key outcomes. I don't have a lot of time to go over why we need the food charter, but I think there are some key statistics. In Halton, we know that the cost of housing is increasing and the cost of food is increasing. And not everyone in Halton can afford a nutritious diet. We do have resources from the health department that look at the cost of eating healthily, and not everyone can do that. About 4% of Halton residents are actually food insecure, which means they don't have enough money to buy nutritious foods. So there's one of our key issues. Food insecurity is then related to poor nutritional outcomes, poor birth outcomes, increased incidence of heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and other health issues. We know from stats that the Canadian Community Health Survey collects from Health Canada that our Oakville, Burlington, all Halton residents are not consuming adequate amounts of fresh fruits and vegetables. The more local foods that we can produce, the more that we can promote to our citizens. So just in summary, I'd like to just let you know where our progress has been to date. So the charter has been approved by the Halton region in December of 2011. It went to Burlington Council in September of 2011 and was endorsed. And just recently in November, Milton Town Council endorsed this charter. So we're here today to request your endorsement of the Halton Food Charter. There's a number of activities that will fall out of it that the Halton Food Council will take responsibility for. We have had a number of community forums, 3 to be exact, over the last few years to work on our strategic planning. And that has included all of the community food programs that I've mentioned previously. And the 2 key areas that we're looking at right now are community gardens. And we are getting some support through a Healthy Communities Fund through the Health Department to look at community food policies and doing a food policy scan. So that's exciting work. And the other thing that we're working on is community food centers or community kitchens. And because we all know that Halton is such a large jurisdiction, we don't have any one place where a community food center would be focused. We have isolated places such as Kerr Street Ministries where there is a community food center, but there is a group working together to have more of a collaborative online presence to provide community food resources to all of the programs in Halton. So that's just an example of what can be done here in Halton. Anyway, my time is up. I would just like to request that you consider endorsing the food charter, and the Food Council would appreciate that very much so that we can continue to do the work that we're doing.
Thank you very much for your information. Any questions? Councillor Lapworth.
Thank you very much for coming this evening and sharing us this good news story. In the expected outcomes, I see that support for urban agriculture, e.g. community gardens, rooftop gardens. Can you tell us where some of the rooftop gardens might be?
I don't think we have too many in Halton right now. I've seen some examples in other jurisdictions. In Toronto, for example, a community access center has built a garden on their rooftop. And this is a center where people come for food programs. There's daycare there, there's job searching there, and they just happen to have this big wide open rooftop where they have about 400 square feet of the entire rooftop planted with fruits and vegetables, beans, tomatoes. A lot of them are in pots, but they are also beds that have been laid there. So that's just an example. We looked at Kerr Street Ministries. They have a balcony area that is a possible area for a rooftop garden. There could be other opportunities for rooftop gardens on business buildings, and we haven't investigated those possibilities yet. But it is a very unique and interesting way to expand your urban agriculture.
Well, as you know, a number of buildings around town have the solar panels on them, including Town Hall. So that might be another option. Thank you.
Yes, that would be great.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Giddings?
Thank you for coming out, Ms. Rablin, and thank you for your ongoing efforts. For those that may be watching this at home, how can they go about getting further information if they're interested in becoming involved or assisting in some way?
Thank you for that question. We have a website called haltonfoodcouncil.ca where folks can go on and look at all of the information that we have collected to date. We're actually going to be expanding that website and would request that anyone that is involved with the food program already let us know, because we are actually trying to turn that into more of a resource base where we can list all of the community food programs there. If people are interested in becoming involved through some of our community forums, which we tend to have on an annual basis, they can register for our listserv on the website as well. And we have two very active committees going right now. One is a community garden committee, and one is that community food collaborative, we're calling it now. Instead of a community food center, it's called the Community Food Collaborative. They could possibly be interested in joining one of those committees as well.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Demoff?
Thank you as well for coming out. You listed the organizations that are part of your organization. Is Oakville Sustainable Food Partnership part of that?
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed them.
Oh,
they are
and
definitely part. They've been one of our founding members. So.
And Go Local Oakville, are they involved as well?
Well, Go Local Oakville is sort of, I guess, connected through the Oakville Sustainable Food Partnership. So we do have Susan Curran sitting on as our member, who represents that group. Go Local Oakville is actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because they have got funding for three interesting initiatives. One is a fruit tree gleaning program where they'll actually go out to homeowners and areas where there's a lot of fruit trees and actually recover the fruit before it spoils on the ground. They're also looking at community food, sort of community orchards as a possibility of, again, having more local food available that could be reclaimed. And then also a shared garden program. So if folks have an extra large yard and aren't gardening and would like to garden, or if they're seniors and they just can't deal with it, there is a shared gardening program that they're starting up, which is quite interesting in terms of a partnership.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Demoff. Thank you, Ms. Brabham, for your information.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Council, that brings us to our standing committee reports, and tonight we only have the January 15th Administrative Services Committee report. Councillor Johnston moves adoption of the report. I need a seconder. Councillor Knoll, thank you. Any discussion or separations? All in favor? Opposed, if any. The report is adopted. That brings us to our first discussion item, Council, and tonight we have a presentation from our fire chief, Chief Lee Grant, who's going to update us on the work of our fire department. Chief Grant, welcome.
Thank you. It's still not all there. Now it's awake. It's doing better than I am.
While they're setting up, I'll just welcome Deputy Chief Durden and Flynn, as well as Carmen Santoro, the president of the Firefighters Association. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm glad you're here. Chief, we're all ears.
You're taking part of my job, sir. Mayor Burton, members of council, thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation showcasing how the Oakville Fire Department contributes to making Oakville the most livable community in Canada. Now, come on, baby. What do I have to do here? No. don't use that one. Your fire department has a clear understanding of your vision of success and a strong mission statement understood by all, which is guiding the efforts to ensure the safety of the citizens and visitors of this community. And you can see we're here to minimize or eliminate the loss of life and property from natural, technological, and human-caused events. And that's the focus of what we do every day within the department. So your administration is myself, Deputy Chief Durden, who's already been introduced, Deputy Chief Glynn, but even more important are our two administrative assistants, Jan Harrington, as well as Jennifer Michaels. And of course, you've already been introduced to Carmen Santoro, our union president tonight, but this truly is a partnership because unlike any other division within the town of Oakville, the fire service runs with entirely unionized frontline personnel, right up to the most senior supervisor who is normally on the scene of any event that takes place. So the partnership between the administration and the union is more critical in this particular aspect of the town's business than it is in almost any other. And we are very fortunate that Carmen is fully on board with the programs that we bring forward and has been an integral part of every decision we've made since I've come on board as fire chief. So I'm very pleased to have him here tonight. Here's the organizational chart of your fire department, and it's divided basically into 3 divisions with a deputy chief in charge of each. We have Brian Durden, who's your Deputy Chief of Operations, Andy Glenn, who's Deputy Chief of Emergency Planning and Special Operations, and we are in the final stages of recruiting a 3rd deputy who will be taking over training and prevention. At the moment, that is shared between Brian and Andy, keeping us going on a daily basis, but they are particularly interested in this upcoming hire. Across Ontario, the Ontario Fire Service is built on 3 lines of defense, which form a continuum to protect all the citizens from risks associated with fires and other emergencies. All 3 must work together for the system to be truly effective for our citizens. And I will explain throughout this presentation how the Oakville Fire Department is embracing this model and the results that we are achieving. One component being suppression is a division that consists of 188 personnel trained and equipped to focus on its mission and protect the citizens of Oakville through both effective and efficient emergency response and public education that's delivered directly to their homes through our home inspection and visiting programs. Each of the shifts is deployed as shown on this document here. They're organized into 4 platoons of 47 working on a rotating 24-hour shift. The staff at Station 1 and Station 7 also take necessary additional vehicles with them to a call if they're needed for a specialized emergency response. So at Station 1 we have a hazmat vehicle, and at Station 7 we either have a tanker for the northern areas or a specialty rescue for the trail systems, which you'll see in a minute. Here we'll see a listing of our current facilities and fleet, which will be explained further detail as I go on. It should be noted that through the strong support of Council, our fleet is now very modern. However, the neighborhood fire stations are aging, and in particular, Station number 4 at 6th Line and Upper Middle is approaching the end of its useful life. So Ward number 1, Station number 1, we have the area pumper, which is pumper 211, and the hazardous materials unit, H213. In Ward 2, we have 2 stations, numbers 3 and 5. Station 3, we have the area pumper 231 and the platform, ladder 232. Number 5, we have area pumper 251 and rescue 254. Also at this location is our technical services facilities where radios, breathing apparatus, hose, and medical equipment are maintained. Ward 3, station number 2, we have area pumper 221 and the reserve pumper number 201. Ward 4, station number 6, we have area pumper 261 and our reserve aerial ladder 262. Ward 5, station number 4, we have the area pumper aerial, which is ladder 242, and the North Rescue, Rescue 244. Ward number 6, station number 7, we have the area pumper 271 and tanker 273. Also located here is the off-road Argo, which is used for firefighting and rescue in the parks and on the trail system, and its transport vehicle, Rescue 274. Our training division, with the mission to ensure the staff, with a staff of 5 that focuses on the delivery of training in all aspects of our business to meet their mission, which ensures that our staff can safely and efficiently meet the needs of the citizens on a daily basis. I will review the programs that make up the training mandate a little later. Oakville has a state-of-the-art training center that's located as part of the Central Operations Site on the South Service Road. An ideal site in a primarily industrial area, which allows effective, real-life firefighting scenarios to be created without causing a disturbance to the residents from smoke, noise, or odor. The site has a full complement of training facilities and simulators, as well as a dedicated pumper to ensure realistic training can be delivered in all aspects of our profession. On the same site, the Fire Prevention Division, a staff of 9, achieves its mission through a number of enforcement and public education programs designed and delivered to ensure that all residents understand their respective roles and responsibilities with respect to fire safety. The Fire Prevention Week kickoff event is the highlight of the year in our fire prevention program. More than 2,500 Oakville residents attend each year to participate in a variety of fun and educational experiences for family members of all ages. In addition to the kickoff, a number of community safety programs are delivered to various audiences each year in a wide range of venues, from large gatherings to individual home visits. These programs focus on all aspects of personal and fire safety, as highlighted on this slide, including testing and, if necessary, the installation of smoke alarms for residents in their homes. New this year, Oakville will be one of 5 Ontario pilot sites for the delivery of the Remembering When program, which is a new initiative focusing on fire safety and fall prevention for our seniors. With the strong support of the Oakville Professional Firefighters Association, your firefighters take part in many town events and volunteer to support a large number of local organizations and charities through fundraising initiatives or by participating in and on many occasions organizing these events. I've highlighted just a few of these initiatives, but it is worth noting that this year's firefighter calendar has already raised in excess of $50,000 to support the OTMH Foundation and the Guide Dog program here in Oakville. Here you'll see a listing of the major programs that the Suppression and Prevention Divisions are providing with the support of the Training Division. It is these programs which collectively ensure that the Oakville Fire Department meets its mission and delivers the 3 lines of defense required to meet provincial guidelines and ensure the safety of our residents and visitors. I've put together a few facts and figures. 2012 has been a very busy year for the Oakville Fire Department, and here are a few of the indicators of our activity levels. So we've had almost exactly 6,000 emergency calls this year, 57 fires with a loss over $5,000, and 416 vehicle accidents, 3,200 medical calls roughly. And our training staff, between the training center and in the fire halls, were able to deliver over 37,000 hours of staff training this year. Our fire prevention and firefighters have been able to contact in excess of 16,000 citizens to deliver personal fire safety information. Lastly, we achieved a satisfaction rating of 82% in the last public survey, and while 82% would probably be not a bad mark if you were in school, it is nowhere near where Carmen and I would like to see the recognition for this department stand, and certainly we're striving for 100% and certainly hope to see numbers in the 90s in the next survey, because that's truly the goal that we're trying to achieve together. Why do I keep pushing that? What do I do to get rid of that again? Okay. Take that thing away from me. In addition to all the other activities, we continue planning for the future. The Fire Master Plan was updated, and fire hall sites have been finalized for 2 of the 3 locations identified in the updated plan. The Burnhamthorpe Road location will not be available or required until approximately 2021, and will replace the temporary fire hall location at the North Operations Satellite Yard. Fire Hall number 8 at Bronte and Pine Glen will also be located on a shared site with the Halton Region EMS. So we hope to see the temporary site go to tender in the next week or so. I know you're all aware we've been held up by a few endangered birds, but we've come to grips with that now, and we have a plan for them, and that's going to allow us to get that entire site under development, including our much-awaited fire hall, as there is continuing development up in the north, and we're, as always, concerned about our response times. Continuing with the Fire Master Plan, the strong support of Council, the recommendations contained in the Master Fire Plan are being implemented to keep up with the needs of our growing community. Here I've listed the increased resources provided to the Fire Department by Council to date as recommended by the Master Plan. So within the plan, we added a training officer in 2007. We added an additional deputy fire chief and 21 firefighters to increase the staffing on our frontline pumpers. In 2009, we added a new rescue with 12 additional firefighters to staff that, and another training officer to keep up with the increased demand of our staff and the complexity of our business. And in 2010, as recommended by the Master Plan, we put a Quint, which is an aerial pumper combination unit, in service at Station 4. That's a significant increase in resources in that period of time to ensure that we're able to keep up with the growing demands of our community. Oh, I did it. Get rid of that thing. Push that. Push that. 2012 has also been a very successful year for the Oakville Fire Department and its staff. Here are a few of our key accomplishments. As you can see by the performance of our extrication and fire fit teams, Oakville truly is a great place for great people to do great things. In addition, we achieved a rate of 3.1 fires per 10,000 population, which is less than half of the target that we had carried forward from the previous year. Last year, we were able to respond to 70% of all of our calls in 4 minutes or less. That's a significant achievement because many times our trucks can be already tied up at a call or may not be in station at the time we receive the next call. So to be able to get there in the 70% area is doing quite well. We had a perhaps unrepeatable event this year, but we had 0 emergency response related lost time injuries this year. And we attribute that to a very active health and safety committee and a very committed training staff. And as I indicated earlier, we're fortunate to have 2 different national championships teams, one of which is currently rated 4th in the world. And the work of these people brings the very best practices back to our staff, and it's shared across the entire organization. So it's a tremendous achievement. During the same year, we had a number of projects that were taken on and were administered by Deputy Durden and Deputy Glynn. The largest was the rollout of our new radio systems. The regional 800 megahertz and the new town radio system were both implemented in this last year. To complement the new radio system, a new mobile command vehicle with a Canadian first multi-frequency interoperable communication system, funded in part by a $50,000 federal joint emergency preparedness federal grant, was put in service. This command center allows fire, public works, EMS, and police to seamlessly communicate with each other during a major emergency. A new rescue vehicle was also put in service in 2012. Another provincial first is the implementation of Telestaff. This is a state-of-the-art computer-aided staffing system that tracks all staff deployment, time off, holidays, and absences. The system allows employees to manage their time off online from home, automatically adjusts staffing assignments, and advises the platoon chief of any staff shortages. This system will also interface with the payroll system to provide all the necessary data directly on a bi-weekly basis. A new station alerting system to maximize our response efficiency is being installed in the next month to interface with the computer-aided dispatch system that was implemented jointly with Burlington Fire at the Appleby Dispatch Center last year. This new system will enable us to more quickly dispatch the correct station along with all the information necessary to respond to the emergency and track all of the component KPI times that comprise our initial response time target of 4 minutes and our full response time target of 8 minutes. Lastly, a major interior renovation of our station number 3 at Randall and Navy was completed, providing much needed expanded crew space to accommodate the 2 crews now stationed at this location. The new emergency management plan was completed in 2012 and was recently updated to reflect the restructuring of the commissions, and I believe is coming to you for final approval shortly. The location and design of the new EOC in the committee room area has been finalized and will be implemented with the Town Hall renovation program in 2013. An updated comprehensive hazard identification and risk assessment, known as a HIRA, will also be completed in 2013. Field and emergency operation EOC exercises are scheduled in the fall of 2013 to fully test the new EOC location and the new mobile command unit. And the Oakville Fire Department continues to go green. We were the first fire department in Ontario to purchase the Smart Car in 2006 for our fire prevention division. This was followed in 2010 with the purchase of 2 Ford Focus hybrid units. And currently we have taken delivery of 2 of the first Ford Focus electric vehicles in Ontario, which are ideally suited for our usage profile when conducting inspections. And 3 multi-vehicle charging stations will be installed at our facilities early in 2014. So that's a recap of who we are and what we've been doing and where we're trying to go. And we're all here if you have any questions for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief. Questions, Councilor Clark? Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you very much. What you mentioned earlier was that about response time of 4 minutes or less, 70% on data. It sounds good to me, but I don't really know what the standards are. Is there a national standard or is there a provincial standard that has to be met, and how are we varying that?
Standard is probably not the right word, but there are guidelines, and the provincial guideline is to get 10 people on scene in 10 minutes. And when we measure our 4-minute response time, that is to get our first vehicle there, which is critical for early intervention. And we are at about the 66% rate in getting 10 there in 10 right now. And to be fair to all of us collectively trying to get there, 10 and 10 is a mix of 4 measurables, and it starts from when the phone rings at the dispatch center, the time it takes for the dispatcher to get the information organized and transmitted to our people, then the time it takes to get the truck out of the door, and the time it takes to physically get the truck to the scene of the incident. We are still working to get those times nailed down accurately, and that's what the new station alerting system is all about that we're bringing on board. Right now, depending on when a dispatcher actually locks the time in and all, there can be 30, 40-second differences in some of these things, so that's why it's so critical to get it all pinned down as a computer-aided system. We really think, our staff thinks we're doing better, but the numbers are showing us that we're in the 65 to 67% range right now.
Yeah, I think I'm on air now. You said that the fire rate is 3.1 in 10,000. Is it 10,000 people or 10,000 homes? What was that? I'm sorry?
10,000 population.
And you said that the target was 8, so we're well below that. How did we pick the target, and why are we well below that? I mean, is it prevention? Is it more education? What's the cause?
The target that we established was one that, through collaboration with my 2 deputies, we felt was something we could measure with KPIs, and we actually looked at our 10 years of previous history, and we were averaging about 8. And so for our initial go at getting set up on the KPIs, we thought we would take our traditional history and hope to meet that. But to answer the second piece of your question, the success is related to the prevention activities and public education, because once there's a fire, our suppression crew attend and deal with it, but the suppression crew on their own in a response can't impact that number. It's the work they do in the homes when they go out at night and visit people and make sure they understand what their role is in fire safety in the home. It's our prevention staff out there speaking to citizens groups, operating the kickoff event, being downtown at Midnight Madness. Those are the things that are helping us. And I hate to say it, but statistics are always a little bit of luck, a little bit of good fortune. It probably won't be 3.1 next year, but we certainly hope we'll stay close to it.
Well, congratulations on your 3.1. That's certainly very impressive. Just the last 2 questions, and this is about how, I guess, how the community can help. One is, how many, you said you get 6,000 calls, emergency calls. What is, what's the ratio of false alarms that we get? And also, how are the drivers of Oakville typically doing? I work downtown Toronto, and it amazes me how many people just freeze when they hear sirens. How is your understanding or your experience with Oakville drivers in dealing with your fire trucks?
Well, I guess the first thing I'll say is I don't spend a lot of time driving fire trucks. I'm mostly driving a desk. But I can say our accident rate is close to 0. So that's telling me that our drivers and the town's drivers are cooperating on the roads. The town of Oakville has a very aggressive Opticon program. You may not know what that is, but it is our devices that are installed on the stoplights at the intersections, and there is a transmitter on our vehicles, and as our vehicle approaches, the approaching vehicle actually changes the light from red to green for us as we're progressing. It's a fairly expensive system, but it has been populated quite heavily across Oakville. It's not on every intersection, but it's on many of them. That takes a lot of the stress off the drivers themselves because the light turns green ahead of the fire truck, which gives them time to move out of the way. And we tend not to be, well, we do not go through an intersection without stopping if the light's red, but we tend not to be in direct conflict with traffic coming in the opposite direction. So the drivers are, I would agree with you, better than you would see in Toronto. Although the roads are a little more open here most of the day for drivers to move over. And our staff is, and I know you all get complaints, but our staff is fairly aggressive with sirens and air horns to make sure that the people do move over. The last thing we want is a truck interfered with en route to a call where it's really needed by an unnecessary accident that slows it down.
I have to say, I'm at Complaint Central, and in over 6 years, I've never had a complaint about you guys, ever. So keep fighting the fires so well. People seem to appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I think your information proves that people do want to get out of the way, and that's good to hear. Other questions? Councillor Knoll?
I have a couple questions. Getting back to Councillor Khan's questions about the 70% at 4 minutes or less, I assume that's for tiered response as well as direct fire call out, is that correct?
Yes, that's across the total gamut of our calls.
And does that time start at the point when the call is dispatched from the CAC Center, or does it start at Appleby?
It starts from the time the Appleby dispatcher receives the call from either the police or the CAC Center.
So the issues at the CAC Center aren't affecting your response time?
Well, the issues of the CAC Center are affecting the time it takes for help to get to the person who needs it.
Right.
We just aren't tracking the time that's elapsed before we get the call.
So it's still an issue?
It's absolutely an issue. It's not only the delay it's a factor, it's about whether the right vehicles are even sent. It's quite common for us to get a call, for instance, to a vehicle extrication long after the accident's actually taken place, and in fact, after both police and ambulance have arrived on scene and have determined that they can't get somebody out of the vehicle, then they initiate a call to the fire department. This has happened 4 or 5 times in the last couple of months alone here in Oakville, in that for whatever reason, first of all, fire's last on the list. If you call 911, they're going to dispatch a police officer, then they're going to dispatch an ambulance, and then they'll dispatch the fire department for motor vehicle accidents and medical calls. And there can be a significant delay, and sometimes we're not sent at all.
Well, that doesn't sound like a CAC issue. That sounds like a Halton Police 911 issue then.
Well, we can't always find out, but it seems that the call goes from the police. You see, the way it works, the police send it to the EMS, and then the EMS send it to us. There's some pilot work going on in the province of Ontario right now in Ottawa and Niagara region of what is called simultaneous notification. So when the police drops the call, it goes in a Y, both to fire and EMS at the same time, but Halton region is currently not part of that program.
Right, which is a good argument for why we need to move as quickly as possible to patriate our own ambulance dispatch. Yeah. The QEW obviously is a big contributor to the auto vehicle accident numbers, I assume. And I believe we do get some sort of compensation for our work on the highway. Is that true?
Yes, the province of Ontario compensates all fire departments who provide protection on provincial highways at a set rate of $410 an hour per vehicle at the current time.
Okay, so that was what was leading to my question. Are we being adequately compensated? As a municipality with 3 highways, it could obviously add up a lot more than a municipality that doesn't have any highways. So it just seems like it may not be an apples to apples comparison.
The Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs lobbied strongly with the Ministry of Transportation 2 years ago, and the rates were raised from $350 to $410 an hour. That's across the province. Does it fully cover our costs of being there? It depends on the complexity of the accident, and actually the more complex the accident, we're probably not being compensated 100%. But on an overall, because most of our accidents on the QE, everybody's traveling in the same direction, so they're not horrific. They can be multi-vehicle, but not horrific style accidents as you run into on Highway 17 and places like that. I think we're probably okay.
Okay, and my last question is with respect to the slide where you talked about the radio system changes. You referred to the 800 megahertz, I assume that's the P25 system?
That's correct.
And the town radio system. I thought they were one and the same.
No, the town of Oakville actually opted out of the P25 radio system and has their own what is a public service radio system that everybody except fire is on. And then we have an interoperability system that allows us to talk directly to that radio system.
Okay, that was my concerns, but the fire services is still using the P25. Okay, that's
correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thank you very much for the presentation. Great work, guys. Let's look forward to 90%. I'm sure it's coming soon.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adams.
Oh, look, it works now. These have been some excellent questions by my colleagues. I just have one question for you. Back when we were doing the Fire Master Plan work years ago, there was a map prepared that showed the areas of town that were, I'll say, underserviced or had low response time percentages. Do we have a similar map now based on the upgrades that we've performed over the last few years?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, in fact, the latest updates of the Fire Master Plan, which are available on the website, and I think they're with the 2057 on that Vision 2057. There's a link there to get to it. It contains about actually 9 different maps that are showing all of the different response times in all of the wards of the town, including all of the new north section of the town, and it shows the impact every time we add a station, how the response improves for that area and how the ability to get additional firefighters into the other areas also improves. It's a color-coded, multicolored map that is very easy actually to understand and really shows the impacts of adding Station 9 temporary and then Station 8.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council, for your questions. Thank you, Chief, and for your presentation, and to the Department for your service. I'd like a mover and seconder to receive the information. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Lapworth, all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you very much, guys. Council, that brings us to our second discussion item, which is the Halton Food Council's food charter. And it's moved by Councillor Giddings, and Councillor Duddick, who couldn't be with us tonight, had hoped to second it. I'll look for a replacement. Councillor Grant, thank you very much. Councillor Giddings, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For Council, I ask for your support for the Halton Food Council Charter, as well as for their vision. While community gardens are only one aspect of the Halton Food Council, I've spent many hours with residents at the community gardens in Ward 3 at Lyons Lane and at Kingsway, as well as a faith-based garden at the Clearview Community Church. And it's not just about growing vegetables, it's about a sense of community and it's about family. And having spent a lot of time there, I can vouch for the strength of the program. And while it's only one small aspect of it, this is certainly a win-win opportunity. So I ask for your support. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Giddings. Would you like a recorded vote? All those in favor, please rise to be named. Councillor Khan, Councillor Adams, Councillor Grant, Councillor Knoll, Councillor Lapworth, Councillor Elgar, Mayor Burton, Councillor Giddings, Councillor Bird, Councillor Demoff, and Councillor Johnston. The motion carries. Thank you very much, Council. We have no confidential discussion item tonight, and you've had your information items circulated electronically, and you have your status of outstanding issues report in your agenda materials. And we have as an item of new business tonight, in accordance with section 6.1 sub 2 of the procedure bylaw, the notice of motion on the provincial draft cycling strategy moved by Councillor Demoff. And again, I'll look for a new seconder, Councillor Elgar. Because this is an urgent matter, and it will be out of time if we wait the allotted time, the Councillor Demoff would like us to waive the procedure bylaw, which requires at least 9 votes, in order to deal with the matter tonight. Is it Council's will to waive the procedure bylaw? Is there any objection? So we'll count that as carried unanimously. And the Chair recognizes Councillor Demoff.
Thank you. At the end of November, the province released its update of its cycling strategy, which has been 20 years in coming. And it's an excellent document. As a community that's well on its way to implementing its active transportation master plan, and having just received our bronze bicycle friendly community award, there are a few things that we're lacking in the strategy, one of which is the fact that being a community that many of our municipal roads cross provincial highways and provincial crossings, it's important for the province to recognize that in their strategy, which is currently missing. In addition, they mentioned cycle tourism, but they don't recognize the importance of cycling to local business and our business districts. There's no mention of the Highway Traffic Act or Planning Act, and of course, as we know, both of those are very important in terms of any kind of cycling and the Ministry of Transportation. And probably one of the most important is providing both increased and sustainable funding for municipalities to deal with cycling infrastructure. We have an excellent plan, but we lack the funding to implement a lot of it. And then communication and recognizing the health benefits of cycling. So these comments are due by January the 29th. So I ask for your support to provide these comments and have them sent to the ministry with a copy to both of our members of provincial parliament.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's adopted. That brings us to regional reports and question period regarding town boards and advisory committees. Are there any? Seeing none. We have a request for report here, and again, I'll ask for a seconder. Councillor Elgar again. This is a motion by Councillor Demoff that staff be requested to prepare a report reviewing the current level of service for winter maintenance of town roads and sidewalks, and then in particular the report review the threshold of greater than 10 centimeters for residential roads and greater than 5 centimeters for sidewalks, associated costs with increasing level of service, and a comparison with other municipalities and their levels of service. Any desire to speak to that, Councillor? All those in favor of the request for report? That carries. Thank you. Now, that brings us to, are there any other requests for report? I don't know of any others. I'll just check. All right. That brings us to consideration reading of the bylaws. We need a mover and seconder, and I'll look for that. Councillor Lapworth? Councillor Adams, thank you. This is authority for bylaws 2013-3, 9, and 12. The bylaw to confirm the proceedings of a meeting of council. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The bylaws are adopted. That completes our agenda. Thank you for your time and attention. It's been great working with you, and we're adjourned.